My name is Lily. I am 24 years old. I live in a small town and work in a local office. I type on the computer, print papers, and help with reports. My job is simple and my days are quiet. I take the bus to work every morning and eat lunch at the same table every afternoon. Nothing big ever happens in my life. But then I met James. James worked in the same office. He was new. On his first day, he sat near me. He smiled and asked my name. I smiled back. I said, "I'm Lily." He said, "Nice to meet you, Lily." His voice was soft. His eyes were kind. From that day, he talked to me every day. At first, I was shy. I only said a few words. But James was friendly. He made jokes. He helped me with work. Soon, I laughed when he spoke. I waited for him every morning. My heart beat fast when he said good morning. I started to like him. I thought he liked me too. One day he asked me if I wanted to have lunch with him outside the office. I said yes. We walked to a small cafe. We talked for a long time. I told him about my life. He told me about his old job in another city. He said he wanted a quiet life now. He said he wanted to meet a kind girl. He looked into my eyes when he said that. After that lunch, things changed. He started calling me after work. We talked at night. Sometimes he sent sweet messages. He said, "You are special, Lily." He said, "I feel good when I talk to you." My heart felt full. I smiled all day. A few weeks later, he asked me if I wanted to go to the park on Saturday. I said yes. We walked and talked. Then we sat on a bench. The sky was pink with sunset. He looked at me and said, "Lily, I like you. I want something real with you. I want to marry someone like you." I felt like I was in a dream. I looked down. I felt shy, but inside I was so happy. From that day, we started seeing each other often. We went for walks. We had lunch together every day. He held my hand. He kissed my forehead. He made me feel loved. He told me again and again, "I want to marry you, Lily." I believed him. I trusted every word. I told my best friend, Claire. She said, "Be careful. Don't fall too fast." But I didn't listen. I said, "James is different. He is kind. He is serious." She didn't say more. She only looked at me and smiled a little. One Friday, James asked me to come to his place after work. I said yes. It was the first time. We sat on his sofa and watched a movie. He brought me tea. He looked at me and said, "Lily, I want you in my life always." My heart was full. I believed his words. That night we got close. I thought it was love. I thought it was the start of something beautiful, but something changed after that. The next morning, he didn't call me. I waited. I checked my phone. No message. I thought, maybe he is busy. On Monday, he didn't sit near me. He didn't smile. He didn't say, "Good morning." I felt cold. I felt confused. At lunch, I walked to his table. I said, "Hi, James. He looked at me and said, "Oh, hey." That was it. Nothing more. No smile. No kind voice. I asked, "Can we talk later?" He said, "I'm busy. Maybe tomorrow." Then he walked away. I sat at my desk, but I could not work. My hands were cold. My eyes were wet. I didn't understand. What happened? Why did he change? The next day, he didn't speak to me at all. He talked to others. He laughed with the new girl at the printer. He walked past me like I wasn't there. My heart started to break. Every hour felt long. Every minute hurt. That night, I texted him, "Can we talk, please?" He didn't reply. I called him. He didn't answer. The next day, I tried again. Nothing. No reply. No call. No words. A week passed. I felt sick. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. My friend Claire came to see me. She looked at my face and said, "Lily, he's not worth your tears." I started to cry. I said, "He said he would marry me. He said I was special." She hugged me. She said, "Some people say sweet things, but they don't mean them." At work, James acted like we were strangers. He looked happy. He joked with others. He looked at his phone and smiled. But he never looked at me, not even once. I felt small. I felt used. I wanted to scream. I wanted to ask, "Why?" But I said nothing. I stopped going to lunch. I sat at my desk and ate a sandwich. I looked out the window. I saw people walking, laughing, living. But inside, I was not the same girl. James broke something inside me. One day, I saw him walking with the new girl from the office. They were close. She laughed. He touched her arm. My heart dropped. Was he doing the same thing to her? That night I lay in bed. I thought about all the things he said, all the promises, all the smiles. Were they all lies? I didn't know what hurt more, the silence or the truth. I still went to work every day. I still did my job. But I didn't feel the same. I didn't wear makeup. I didn't smile much. People at work saw the change, but no one asked. I think they knew, or maybe they just didn't care. Only Claire stayed close. She checked on me every day. One afternoon, James sent me a message. After 3 weeks of silence, it said, "Hey, hope you're okay." That was all. No sorry. No reason. I stared at the screen. My hands shook. I wanted to ask so many things, but I didn't reply. I deleted the message. That night, I cried again. Not because I missed him, but because I gave him my heart and he threw it away like it was nothing. I remembered how he said he wanted to marry me. I believed him. I trusted him. But it was all a lie. The next morning, I woke up early. I looked in the mirror and said, "Enough." I got dressed. I brushed my hair. I put on a clean white shirt. I walked to work with my head up. James looked at me when I entered the office. I saw him, but I didn't stop. I walked past him. I didn't smile. I didn't speak. I sat at my desk and opened my laptop. That day, for the first time, I felt strong again. The days started to feel easier. I did not cry every night now. I still felt pain inside, but it was not as strong as before. I stopped checking my phone for his messages. I stopped looking for him at work. I knew he was not going to come back and explain. I told myself that I didn't need him anymore. I didn't want to be with someone who made me feel so small. Claire said I was doing better. She said, "Lily, I see the old you coming back." That made me smile a little. It was not a big smile, but it was real. I started eating lunch with her again. We sat at our table and talked about small things, weather, food, weekend plans. Nothing about James. I didn't want to say his name anymore. One Friday, our boss said we would have a team dinner. Everyone had to go. I didn't want to, but I also didn't want to stay home and think about him. So I said yes. We went to a restaurant in town. People laughed, ate, and took pictures. James sat 2 chairs away from me. He looked at me once. I looked away. Later, he came to my side. He said, "Can we talk?" I looked at him. I said, "No, thank you." Then I stood up and walked to Claire. I saw the surprise on his face, but I didn't care. For once, I felt proud of myself. After that night, he stopped trying to speak to me. He kept his distance. I was glad. I didn't want his fake words. I wanted peace. I wanted to feel good again, even if it was slow. At work, I focused on my tasks. I did everything on time. My boss said I was doing well. That made me feel good. For a long time, I had forgotten how it felt to be proud of myself. One weekend, Claire asked me to join her for a walk by the lake. I said yes. We walked slowly and watched the water. The sun was soft. The air felt clean. She said, "I'm glad you came. You're smiling again." I said, "It still hurts sometimes, but I'm trying." She said, "You're doing more than trying. You're healing." I started to enjoy small things again. I drank tea on my porch in the morning. I listened to music while cooking. I watched old movies at night. These things didn't change the past, but they helped me feel calm. One Monday morning, a new person joined our office. His name was Peter. He was quiet but polite. He smiled at everyone. He asked questions about the work. He sat across from me. At first, I didn't talk much. I was still afraid. I didn't want to feel the same pain again. But Peter was kind. He never asked personal questions. He only said, "Good morning," and smiled. After 2 weeks, he asked me if I wanted to join him for coffee. I said no. I was not ready. He said, "That's okay," and didn't ask again. He didn't change. He still smiled. He still helped when someone needed support. Slowly, I began to see that he was different. One day, I dropped my folder. Papers went everywhere. James was nearby. but he didn't move. He looked and then turned away. Peter came quickly. He helped pick up the papers. He said, "No worry, it happens." That moment stayed with me. It showed me the truth. James only cared when it was easy. Peter helped without asking anything back. Weeks passed. I started to speak more with Peter. We talked about music and weekend plans. We laughed a little. He never said sweet things. He never made promises, but his actions spoke more. He was kind every day, not just when someone was watching. One day after work, I walked to the bus stop and saw Peter standing there too. He smiled and said, "You take this bus too?" I said, "Yes, every day." We sat together. We talked about our day. It was simple, but it felt nice. I felt safe. That night, I thought about James again, not with pain, but with a lesson. He taught me something I didn't know before. Words can sound sweet, but they mean nothing if the actions are empty. Love is not about big words. It is about small things done with care. I didn't know what would happen with Peter. I didn't want to rush. I didn't want to fall too fast. But I felt hope. Not for love, not yet, but for myself. I felt like I could trust again. Maybe one day. One Thursday, our team had a new project. I had to work with Peter. We spent the whole day together. We worked well as a team. At the end of the day, he smiled and said, "You're easy to work with." I said, "Thank you. You too." He looked at me and said, "You know, I like talking to you. No rush. Just saying." I smiled. It was a real smile, full of light. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't think about James. I sat on my bed, drank warm tea, and smiled to myself. I still had a long way to go, but I was walking. Step by step, day by day, I was getting stronger. The next few weeks at work were busy. Peter and I had many tasks. We worked well together. He always stayed calm. When I made a mistake, he helped without blame. He never raised his voice. He never made me feel small. I started to feel more relaxed around him. I laughed more. I even looked forward to going to work. One day he brought 2 coffees. He gave one to me. I said, "You didn't have to." He said, "I wanted to." It was a small thing, but it made me smile. I took the coffee and said, "Thank you." My hands were warm from the cup, but my heart felt warmer. Later that day, James walked past my desk. He stopped and looked at me. I saw his eyes. He wanted to say something, but I turned back to my screen. I didn't want to hear his voice. I didn't want to remember his lies. That moment made me proud. I didn't need him anymore. That weekend, Claire and I went to the park. We sat on a bench near the flowers. She looked at me and said, "I can see you're better. You're stronger now." I said, "I still remember, but I don't hurt like before." She held my hand and smiled. "I'm proud of you. she said. On Monday morning, Peter and I were alone in the break room. He looked at me and said, "I know you've been through something hard." I looked down. I didn't know what to say. He added, "You don't have to tell me. I just want you to know. You're doing great." His words were soft, but they touched my heart. I looked at him and said, "Thank you. I'm trying." He nodded and said, "That's all anyone can do." I liked how he didn't ask too much. He didn't push. He gave space, and that made me feel safe. From that day, I allowed myself to feel more open. I talked to Peter more. We laughed during work breaks. We shared simple stories. He never made me feel like I had to be someone else. I could be quiet. I could be myself. One afternoon, we were both walking to the bus stop. It started to rain. Peter had an umbrella. He said, "Come, stand close." We shared the umbrella and walked in the rain. The streetlights were soft, and the road was quiet. I felt peace. I hadn't felt that in a long time. He didn't try to hold my hand. He didn't say anything sweet, but the silence felt good. It felt kind. That night, I thought about how far I had come. I thought about the girl who cried for a man who lied. Now I was walking in the rain beside someone who showed care without words. I still didn't know what would happen next. I wasn't ready to fall in love again, but I was ready to trust life a little more. I was ready to believe that not all people are the same. Some people stay. Some people are gentle. Some people mean what they say. The next few months passed slowly. I kept working hard at my job. Peter and I talked more each day. We didn't speak about the past. We only spoke about the present, about food, music, the news, the weather. He always listened. He never judged. His eyes were kind. His smile was warm. I started to feel something again. Not fear, not sadness, but something quiet and soft. Maybe it was hope. One morning, I woke up early and made tea. I stood by the window. The sun was rising. The sky looked pink and gold. I smiled without a reason. That's when I knew. I was healing. I was becoming me again. Not the girl James broke, but the girl who could grow again. Peter didn't try to rush anything. He waited. He gave me space. That made me trust him more. One day he asked, "Would you like to come with me to a music show on Saturday, just for fun?" I was quiet for a moment. Then I said, "Yes, I would like that." My heart beat a little faster, but not from fear, from something new and nice. Saturday came. We met at the small concert hall. The music was soft and slow. We sat near the front. Peter looked at me and said, "I'm glad you came." I said, "Me too." We didn't talk much during the show. We just listened. It was calm. It was peaceful. After the music, we walked to a small cafe. We sat at a table outside. The street was quiet. Peter looked at me. He said, "Lily, I like spending time with you." I looked at my hands. Then I looked at him. I said. I like it too. He smiled and didn't say more. I was glad. I didn't want big words. I just wanted truth. Over the next weeks, we spent more time together. We went to the park. We drank coffee on weekends. He never pushed me to speak about James, but one day I decided to tell him. We were sitting on a bench under a tree. I looked at the ground and said, I was hurt before. I trusted someone who lied to me. Peter didn't move. He just listened. I said, he said he loved me. He said he wanted to marry me. But after one night, he changed. He ignored me. He made me feel like nothing. My voice shook. I tried not to cry. Peter reached for my hand. He held it gently. I'm sorry, he said. You didn't deserve that. I looked at him. Thank you for being patient, for not walking away. He said, I'm here because I want to be, not for words, for you. That moment felt big. It felt true. I felt safe. Time passed. I laughed more. I dressed up again. I met Claire often and told her about Peter. She smiled and said, I knew someone better would come. You just had to heal first. One evening, after work, Peter and I walked home together. The sun was setting. He stopped and looked at me. Lily, he said, I don't want to rush you, but I want you to know I care about you. I like you for who you are. We can take it slow, but I hope one day you'll let me be part of your life for real. I looked at him. I didn't feel scared. I didn't feel broken. I felt ready. I said, I'd like that too. That night, I looked at myself in the mirror. I saw a woman who had been hurt, but who got back up. A woman who cried, but who learned to smile again. I was not the same Lily. I was stronger. And I was proud. Some promises are lies, but some actions are true. And this time, I was choosing truth. The next morning, I walked to work feeling light. The sky was blue. The air was fresh. I looked at the people around me and felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. I no longer felt angry. I no longer wanted answers from James. I didn't need them. I had moved on. Slowly, quietly, fully. At the office, James was still there. He passed by my desk. He looked at me. I looked back. This time, I felt nothing. No pain, no sadness, just calm. I gave a small, polite smile and turned back to my screen. I didn't need his words. I didn't want his attention. That chapter of my life was closed. Peter came by with a file. He placed it gently on my desk and said, You're glowing today. I smiled. I feel okay today. He smiled back. It shows. That weekend, Peter and I went to a small market in town. We walked past food stalls and old books. We bought sweet bread and sat on a bench near the trees. He asked, Are you happy? I looked at him. Yes, I am. I didn't think I could be happy again, but here I am. He said, "You're strong, Lily. You found your way back." I nodded. "I didn't do it alone. You helped me." He looked down. "I'm glad I could." I reached for his hand. This time I wasn't afraid. I held it, not because I needed someone, but because I wanted to share a little joy with someone kind. As I sat on that bench with Peter, I thought about everything I had learned. Sometimes people lie. Sometimes hearts break. But pain is not the end. It is just a turn in the road. I learned to listen to my own heart. I learned that real care is quiet and steady, not loud and fast. I don't know what tomorrow will bring, but I know I will be okay. I will move forward with care, with love, and with respect for myself first and then for others, because now I know my worth, and I will never forget it again.